Sairam. So yesterday we saw Swami giving us a very novel way of understanding the concept of Purnatvam. How Purnatvam exists in the whole and in the part. He gives one more example. He says, the previous avatar, Shirdi Baba, laid the base for secular integration and gave mankind the message of duty, that is, work. The mission of the present avatar, that is Sathya Sai avatar, is to make everybody realize that since the same God or divinity resides in everyone, people should respect, love and help each other irrespective of caste, color and creed. Thus, every work can become an act of worship. Finally, Prema Sai, the third avatar, shall promote the evangel that not only does God reside in everybody, but everyone himself is God. That will be the final wisdom which will enable every man and woman to rise to be God. Thus, the three avatars carry the triple message of work, worship and wisdom. In this very beautiful way, Swami relates the three stages. In fact, Swami doesn't talk of karma, bhakti and jnana as three ways of reaching God. Swami integrates all this as a continuity. He makes one automatically lead into the other. He says, take the example of the fruit. It begins with the seed which grows into the tree and from it comes the fruit. So you see, these are just three phases into which you can divide. The three phases are not distinct in the sense that they are not separate, but one kind of leads to the other. So this is what Swami says. Then the editor asks this question: what are in sum the holy mission and divine purpose of this triple incarnation? So what is the purpose? What is the mission of the avatar? Swami says, to unite all mankind into one caste or family with the establishment of the divinity, that is, the Atmic reality in every man or woman. This is the basis on which the entire cosmic design rests. Being the cosmic creator himself, he knows exactly what is the base plan. And therefore he says to bring about the unity. But how is this unity going to be brought out? By pointing out to the divinity which exists in all of creation. Once this is realized, the common divine heritage that binds man to man and man to God will become apparent, and love shall prevail as the guiding light of the universe. Love can come only when you realize that the whole world is just a part of you. You're not separate from the world. When this happens, then love automatically becomes a binding force. Swami says, man has to develop into mankind in the fullness of its integrated potential. That is, man should not remain as a single entity. He should develop into mankind. Mankind as such is absent in the world. There is no synthesis between thought, word and deed. Man today thinks of one thing, says something different and acts quite contrary. So what we have is the individual man confused, confounded and bombarded with contradictory thoughts. What we do not see is mankind in him, motivated by good thoughts, good words and good deeds. We have to make him realize God within him to develop a synthesis correlating thought, word and deed. So this is something that Swami says that we have to develop. Trikarana Shuddhi, basically. This is what Swami has always been telling us. Then the editor says, the existing situation where humanity is being driven by evil forces to destruction seems to suggest the inevitability of another Mahabharata type war. Remember, this was in the 1970s. And therefore, it's not surprising that Mr. Karanjia is asking this question. Because that was a time when on the one side the United States and on the other side USSR were actually competing with each other, and it looked they were all stockpiling nuclear missiles, and therefore it was thought that the Third World War would become inevitable. So he says it looks like another Mahabharata type of war is looming. Then Swami says the evil must and shall be removed before such a catastrophe takes place. So he is not going to allow this catastrophe to take place. The evil shall be removed, he says. And then he says there will be minor wars and skirmishes, of course. I mean, for Swami, these wars and all which happen are not exactly of the Mahabharata scale. He says they are minor skirmishes. One day he was telling us, it's like this little bit of missiles here and there. It's like the rockets you have during Deepavali. These cannot be helped in the existing state of affairs. A little bit of war, a little bit of friction is going to be there. But the Mahabharata was a different issue altogether. How is the Mahabharata war a different issue? Lord Krishna decreed it. In fact, he led Arjuna as his divine charioteer to the battlefield in order to rid the world of evil men and ungodly forces. Here was Krishna himself who willed that this war should take place. Okay, even though he went as an ambassador to show that he was always on the side of peace. But he knew that those evil people would not accept peace, and they would themselves kind of bind themselves. Today, the evil is so widespread that humanity itself would be destroyed in a nuclear holocaust in the event of a world war. It is to prevent such a catastrophe that this avatar has come. Okay, so such a beautiful, such a grand design. What prevented the world war from happening was the presence of the avatar on earth. He says this is what the avatar came. And how does the avatar do this? Raise the human consciousness above the existing syndrome of anger, hate, violence and war, and to save the world from disaster. So if mankind has to be saved, the consciousness of man, in fact, indeed the consciousness of mankind itself should be raised to a higher level. It is like when we go up in the sky, you see the entire landscape as one. It is only when you are on earth you find that there are differences and contours. But when you go into the sky, all appear to merge into one. And he says this can be achieved only by the re-establishment of the brotherhood of man through the Vedas, Shastras and all religions with their evangel of Dharma to liberate the human race from the chains of karma. So all the Vedas that we are chanting, okay, Swami says, is meant only for the re-establishment of the brotherhood of mankind. We can actually see this brotherhood manifesting itself when you see people from Japan, people from US, people from Russia, people from Vietnam, people from China, people from Pakistan, everywhere coming together and chanting the Vedas. This is something very unusual, but it happens in Prashanti Nilayam. In fact, the Ataruddha Mahayajnam which we saw recently, we saw that happening, isn't it? We saw it happening against 100 and odd countries where Vedas were being chanted. And the Atiruddha Yajnam, which was supposed to involve the chanting of 14,641 times of Ruddham, actually turned out to be more than 120,000 times. And then Swami says, I always say, let the different faiths exist. Let them flourish. Let the different faiths exist. There should not be an attempt to kind of destroy one religion or the other. Swami says, let the different faiths exist. Let them be there. But not just let them be there, let them flourish. They should actually blossom. Let the glory of God be sung in all the languages in a variety of tunes. After all, every person who is religious is only singing the glory of God. Okay, but maybe in a different tune, in a different raga, in a different language. That should be the ideal. He also says, respect the differences between the faiths and recognize them as valid. Okay, so you respect the differences. You don't try to brush it under the carpet. You respect the differences and also recognize that they are valid. There is nothing wrong in having differences and accepting them as far as they do not extinguish the flame of unity. So ultimately, the purpose is unity. To bring about this unity, you can have these various approaches. It is like Swami used to say, in the foreign countries, you have a common t-shirt. The grandfather wears it, the grandmother wears it, the grandchild wears it, the father, mother, everybody wears it. It's free size. Whereas in the Indian context, what happens? Each person can go to the tailor and get a designer-made shirt or a pant. And Swami says, even though you do that, it fits the God whom you want fits you. You can take a stone and worship it as God. You can take a snake and worship the snake as God. You can take an idol and worship it as God. You can take nature and say, this is my God. Or you can even say that I worship myself as God. I am myself God. Even that is accepted. Every approach is respected. Every approach is allowed. That is the beauty of the Sanatana Dharma. Then, from what you have said, the editor says, it seems there's not much of difference between God and man. Am I right? Swami says, quite right. God is man and man is God. All of us have something of God, the divine spark within us. Look at Swami's humility. He says, all of us. He doesn't say, all of you. I am the flame and you are the spark. He doesn't say like that. All of us have something of God, the divine spark within us. All men are divine like myself, but with the spirit embodied in human flesh and bone. The only difference is they are unaware of this godhood. They have come into this karmic prison to the mistake of many lives. Okay, what is the reason for human birth? Why have you come into this prison called the human birth, into the human life? Swami says, you have come into this because of the mistakes of many lives, of the karmas that you have done over many lives. They are bound to the body while I am free of this bondage. The main difference is that they are shoved hither and thither by desire. But Swami says, I have no desire except the supreme one of making you desireless. Swami has only one desire. We have a multitude of desires, and Swami says, my desire is only to make you desireless. And then he gives this formula. Life plus desire is equal to man. Life minus desire is equal to God. We'll stop with this for today and continue it in the next session. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai.